Some promises are made with words. Others are made in silence through a look, a song, or a memory that refuses to fade. For Lily, music had always been the thread that tied her to her mother, a melody hummed through hard days, played softly on an old piano that hadn't been tuned in years. After her mother passed, the notes stopped. The house went quiet, and Lily swore she'd never sing again. But love has a way of finding its echo. And one night, in a dimly lit restaurant, when a stranger sat down at the piano and began to play that melody, the one she thought only her mother knew, something inside her broke open. And when she looked up, the man at the piano was Jason Statham. Before we continue, thank you for watching and feeling these stories with us. They're not just about Jason Statham or the moment he steps into a scene. They're about people like Lily, who hold on to something fragile, even when the world goes quiet around them. If you've ever lost someone and still listen for them in the little things, a song, a scent, a moment you can't explain, then this story is for you. So take a breath, stay with us till the end, and if you believe that love never truly leaves, just changes its tune, make sure to subscribe, because this one will stay with you long after the last note fades. There are certain songs that never really end. They linger not in the air, but in the people who remember them. For Lily, her mother's melody was one of those songs. She could still hear it in the quietest places, when rain tapped on the windows, when the kettle began to hum, or when the wind pressed against the curtains just right. It wasn't a famous tune, just a few chords her mother used to play on an old upright piano that leaned slightly to the left. The kind of song that felt like a promise. Her mother called it their song. Lily used to sit beside her, swinging her legs, watching those weathered fingers glide over the keys. "One day," her mother would whisper, "someone will play this for you, and when they do, you'll know it's love." Lily was 8 when she made her own promise, to never let that song fade. She kept it alive the only way she knew how, by humming it under her breath when she missed her mother too much to speak. Years passed, the house grew quieter, the piano eventually stopped singing. Now 26, Lily lived above a small bookstore on the corner of Milton Street. She worked part-time at a flower shop down the road, the kind of place that smelled of rain and roses even in winter. Her hands were always dusted with pollen, her clothes soft with color. But beneath it all, she carried that same silence, the one that grief leaves behind when it has nowhere else to go. She wasn't lonely, not exactly, just careful. The kind of careful that comes after loss. Her friends had tried setting her up before, nice men, kind smiles, safe conversations, but she always found a way to disappear. "Maybe next week," she'd say, or "I'm just not ready." Then one evening, Amara, her best friend since college, walked into the shop holding a folded piece of paper like it was a lottery ticket. "You're going," she said. Lily blinked. "To where?" "Blind date, Saturday night at the Brass Key, 7 p.m. "No," Lily said immediately, shaking her head, her ponytail brushing her collar. "Amara, I can't." "You can," Amara interrupted, her smile soft but relentless. "He's different, works with veterans, plays piano on weekends. You'll like him." Lily crossed her arms. "And how exactly do you know that?" "Because," Amara said, lowering her voice with dramatic flair, "he's the kind of man who doesn't talk much, but when he does, people listen." Lily laughed. "You're describing a spy, not a date." Amara shrugged. "Maybe both, either way you're going." Lily tried to protest, but something in Amara's tone made her pause, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing someone too well. Saturday came faster than it should have. The Brass Key was one of those timeless restaurants, dark wood, golden light, the hum of quiet conversation under soft jazz. The kind of place that felt both intimate and unfamiliar, like stepping into a memory that wasn't yours. Lily sat at a corner table, her hands folded neatly in her lap, a single candle flickering between her and the empty chair across from her. The waiter brought her water, smiled politely, and said, "Your reservation name was under." "Lily," she said, "just Lily." He nodded, understanding more than she'd said, and walked away. She waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20, her stomach tightened. Maybe he's not coming. She told herself it was fine, that it would almost be a relief. She could go home, make tea, sit by the window and hum her mother's melody to herself. Safer that way. But as she reached for her coat, a soft hush rolled through the room. The kind of silence that happens when something or someone unexpected steps into it. A man had just entered, tall, steady, wearing a dark suit that somehow made him blend in and stand out all at once. He moved through the restaurant quietly, like someone who didn't need attention to hold it. The host led him toward the piano in the corner. Lily frowned, a pianist. She hadn't noticed the instrument before. It was small, tucked near the edge of the room, the wood polished by years of use. The man sat down, adjusted his cuff, touched one key. The sound that came out was clean, low, tender, certain. He didn't look up, didn't announce himself. He just started to play. Lily froze. The first few notes meant nothing to anyone else, simple, ordinary chords. But to her, they were the first steps into a memory. Her chest tightened as her heart began to race. The rhythm, the pattern, the slight pause before the third note, just like her mother used to do. No, it couldn't be. Her eyes blurred as the music built, slow, familiar, unshakably hers. Each note landed like it had been waiting years to be played again. The air thickened with emotion, the candlelight trembling against the walls. When the final chord lingered, Lily couldn't stop herself. She whispered, barely breathing, "That's Mom's melody." The man at the piano turned slightly, his face now visible in the warm light. Jason Statham. He met her gaze, calm, unreadable but not cold. There was recognition in his eyes, not of her, but of what the song meant. The room around them faded just for a moment, as if even time knew it wasn't supposed to interrupt. He stood, walked toward her table, the silence carrying him like a current. The small velvet box on the table, the one Amara had placed there earlier for luck, still sat unopened beside her. Jason stopped at her table. "You must be Lily," he said quietly. His voice was low, grounding like a chord held steady under a storm. She nodded, too stunned to speak. How do you know that song?" He glanced at the piano, then back at her. "Your mother taught it to me." Lily's breath caught. The room spun softly, disbelief catching against grief. "That's not possible, she never." "She did," he said gently, "a long time ago." The weight of it settled between them, the space where memory and truth met. Jason didn't move closer. He didn't reach for her hand. He just stood there, the kind of man who knew that some moments didn't need touching, they needed understanding. The waiter passed by, oblivious, carrying laughter from another table that didn't belong here. Lily swallowed, her throat tight. "She told me someone would play that song for me one day." Jason nodded once, "Then I suppose I'm late." Her eyes filled before she could stop them. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't joy. It was everything between, the ache of something lost and found all at once. "Why?" she whispered. He took a slow breath. "Because she asked me to." The next moment the lights dimmed slightly, as if the restaurant itself was holding its breath. Somewhere in the back, someone began to hum the same tune, faint and off-key, but carried by strangers who didn't even know why. And as the candle flickered, and the ring box stayed unopened, Lily realized she was no longer waiting for her date. She was already part of the story her mother had written long ago. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of soft laughter drifted from another table, the clink of silverware and quiet jazz filling the space between their silence. But for Lily, the world had narrowed down to the man standing in front of her, the stranger who somehow carried the last piece of her mother's memory. Jason's expression didn't change much, but there was something in his eyes, a shadow of tenderness that didn't quite fit his stillness. He seemed like a man who'd seen too much and said too little about it. Finally, Lily found her voice. She asked you to play it for me." Jason nodded, slow and deliberate. "Years ago, before she passed, we worked together at a community music program. She used to teach the kids piano, said music was her way of giving them something no one could take away." Lily's eyes softened. "That sounds like her." "She talked about you," he said. "About how you'd sit beside her and hum along, how you'd finish the last note when she pretended to forget it. She said that song was the sound of home." Lily felt her throat tighten again. "I haven't heard it since she stopped herself, the words catching on emotion. "I thought it was gone." Jason shook his head. "Some things don't disappear, they just wait." The candlelight flickered across his face, and for a moment he looked almost out of place. this man who carried himself like someone used to standing guard, sitting now in a world of music and memory. "Your mother made me promise," he continued. "She said one day she'll stop singing. When she does, find her. Remind her that the music isn't finished yet." Lily laughed softly through her tears. "That sounds exactly like something she'd say." Jason smiled faintly, the kind of smile that said he didn't do it often. She was stubborn. "She was," Lily agreed. "She believed music could fix people." Jason's gaze dropped to the piano. Maybe she was right. A quiet fell between them, not awkward but sacred. The kind of quiet where two stories finally find their shared line. After a moment, Jason spoke again, his tone gentler now. "She also left something for you." He reached into his jacket pocket and placed a small, folded sheet of paper on the table. The edges were worn, the handwriting soft and looping, unmistakably her mother's. Lily's hands trembled as she opened it. It wasn't a letter, it was sheet music, the same melody but unfinished. The final line stopped mid-bar, a phrase waiting to be completed. At the bottom, in faded ink, were 5 words. "You'll know how it ends." Lily pressed the paper to her chest. "I don't know if I can." Jason nodded toward the piano. "You can." Her eyes widened. "Now." He didn't answer, just stood, walked back to the piano and sat down again. His hands hovered over the keys, waiting. Lily hesitated. Every instinct told her to stay seated, to keep safe inside her silence. But something in his calm presence, the steady weight of someone who wasn't here to demand, only to remind, gave her courage she didn't know she still had. She stood, walked toward him. The air seemed heavier now, charged with memory. Every step felt like stepping closer to her mother's voice. When she reached the piano, Jason looked up. "You ready?" Lily took a slow breath. "No, but maybe that's okay." He nodded, a quiet understanding passing between them. Then softly he began to play the same melody, note for note, just as her mother had. Only this time, when the music reached the part that used to fade into silence, Jason lifted his hand slightly, waiting. Lily closed her eyes. The world fell away, the tables, the lights, the noise. All that remained was the sound of her mother's song and the feeling that she wasn't alone. She opened her mouth, and for the first time in years sang. The note was fragile at first, trembling like something waking up after too long. Then it grew steadier, fuller. Her voice carried through the room, warm, aching, alive. The unfinished bar found its ending in her voice. The melody didn't just return, it transformed. When the last note hung in the air, the restaurant was silent. No one moved. A few people wiped their eyes. Even the waiter paused mid-step, the kind of stillness that only true emotion can create. Lily opened her eyes. Jason was still at the piano, looking at her, not proud, not pitying, just quietly present. She whispered, "I didn't think I'd ever sing again." Jason gave a small nod. "Your mother knew you would." A soft laugh escaped her, shaky but real. She always was a step ahead. He smiled, that rare, almost hidden expression again. "Seems she still is." Lily looked down at the folded sheet music, now resting on the piano. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like a weight. It felt like a gift. Jason rose, buttoning his jacket. "She asked me to make sure you finished the song," he said quietly. "Now you have." "Wait," Lily said, her voice catching. "Will I see you again?" He paused. There was something almost poetic in his stillness. A man who'd learned how to say goodbye without making it sound final. "Maybe," he said softly, "but if not, just keep singing." With that, he turned and walked toward the door. The crowd parted without a word. The soft notes of the piano still lingered in the air long after he'd gone. Lily watched him disappear into the night, a silhouette fading into the glow of streetlights and rain. Then she turned back to the piano, placed her fingers on the keys, and played the melody again, her mother's melody. But this time, it ended with her. And for the first time in a long time, the silence after wasn't empty. It was peace.